The little port of Golfito turned out to be a pleasant surprise for all on board. Golfito is a wonderfully protected natural harbour that's only a few kilometres away from the Costa Rican and Panamanian borders. It was originally built by the United Fruit Company in the 1930s as a major export hub to escape the Atlantic coast, which was being ravaged by banana diseases that had devastated the region. Those days are long gone, and it's now a sleepy but quaint little town built right along the waterfront. We'd heard negative reports about Golfito, but after spending a day and an evening there, we felt they were unjust. There seems to be a bit of petty crime in the area, and word has travelled throughout the cruising fraternity, and its reputation has suffered because of it. Spirit and her crew were welcomed at the Banana Bay Marina, where we enjoyed a nice shower, cold beer and a meal. Within an hour of fastening the lines, a local fisherman had offered to sell us a couple of kilos of dorado and king prawns, which we quickly threw on ice in the esky. The following days we ate well, turning the dorado and prawns into everything from sushi to red curry and putting them in corn tortilla wraps. It was some of the best fish we've tasted in many years. The weather was looking favourable for the remaining 300 nautical miles down the coast and up into the Gulf of Panama to San Carlos. San Carlos was the location of the marina we were using to clear into Panama and is located about 40 nautical miles to the southwest of Panama City and the Panama Canal. The following day we set off from Golfito at around 2:30 p.m. The breeze was 10 to 15 knots onshore, so we motored out of the bay before bearing away and unfurling the headsail for a little extra push. There was a half moon rising nicely, so the night wasn't completely dark. The multitude of stars also helped to illuminate the decks, which we haven't had the pleasure of experiencing in well over a year. It was such a nice change to be at sea again, surrounded by such beauty above. It's hard to believe that we lock ourselves inside small homes at night and watch televisions when there's a world of wonderment above us shining for free, and that asks nothing in return apart from one's consciousness and attention. How did we ever lose sight of the beauty that constantly surrounds us and get consumed by the make-believe? It was an uneventful evening, but the morning saw some breeze that allowed us to keep the headsail working for a bit. Overall, the trip was mainly about getting to know the boat, her systems, and getting her safely to Panama. So if there wasn't a breeze that pushed us along at 5 knots, we had the engine running. It was a good overall test for the boat and the engine. And the brief sailing we did managed to test her ability on all points of sail in 5 to 25 knots of breeze. Look, it was making brekkie. Setting up some fruit. The second day of the passage, we were around halfway and passing through a beautifully spectacular area called the Parque Nacional de Isla Coiba. It's an old penal colony, and the rainforest covering the islands is so thick it looks like it's been dripped over, similarly to icing on a cake. It was impressive to look through the binoculars and to see each tree and plant fighting for sunlight and growing anyway and anywhere they could. All the way down to the rocky water's edge was a deep green of vines and trees. Along the ridges, large trees protruded individually like tall people in a line. The island looked like something out of Jurassic Park. Dolphins swam beside us as we approached the island. Throughout the trip we saw loads of fish and bird life. The coasts here are teeming with life in and out of the water, but unfortunately in the more populated areas the destruction of natural habitats continues. Around 120 nautical miles further to our west there was Punta Mala, which is well known for its strong southerly winds this time of year. The forecast didn't leave a lot of time, but it did give us a few hours to stop for a swim. The water was nice and clear, and Chloe and I managed to scrape away a few barnacles while checking the propeller, rudder and centreboard for issues. We had close friends, Paul and Denise, and their daughter Amaya on board for the trip down, and they snorkeled around the boat, taking pictures of Spirit's underbelly. Paul cooked a delicious lunch of dorado as we headed west to Punta Mala. After 3 hours or so, the breeze filled in and gave us a few lovely hours of fantastic sailing. while we had an afternoon aperitif of Italian delights thanks to Claudia. This is when Spirit was sitting on 10 knots in 12 knots of breeze. The angle was good and the seas were smooth, and Spirit loved it. All aboard were surprised at Spirit's turn of speed in the light airs. Considering her overall shape and the shape of her sails, it was impressive. 10 to 11 knots of boat speed with an apparent wind of 44 degrees in 12 knots of true wind had her feeling really nicely powered up. The hammerheads have a low centre of effort thanks to the shorter rig and air draft of 64 feet, which was designed so that they could cruise the US's intercoastal waterway. Unlike the old Spirit, who would have been hosing us with salt water and requesting all hands on deck to put a reef in, the two boats couldn't be more different in speed and volume, but we really feel like we've found the perfect balance for size, speed and simplicity. That evening we ran along the southern coast before passing Punta Mala early the next morning, where we changed our course to the north and motored up into a solid 18 to 29 knots of breeze that was on the nose for the rest of the 55 nautical miles into the Gulf of Panama. Spirit handled the headwinds and short chop well. It's never comfortable motoring into 20 knots of breeze, so we flapped about a bit, but it was pretty good considering the sloppy conditions and short waves. It was a gift to be able to share the trip with close friends, and it's why we looked for a bigger boat. The layout and the way the boat works is just right. At one stage there was 3 of us cooking in the galley, and we still had loads of room. Having separate cabins, one aft and one forward, along with a forward head and shower and an aft head and shower, it gives ample space and privacy, and the aft cockpit is like a separate cabin all alone. When on passage, those sleeping there are close at hand, and once at anchor they have their own private area to relax and rest in, and the king-size bed is truly a treat. The layout is super cool. At around 5:30 p.m, Spirit was finally all fast in Vistamar Marina, Panama, and her crew was enjoying a nice cold and well-earned beer and wine. Overall, it was a super 500 nautical mile first passage. We had 0 issues and the sails made it until the end. Spirit proves she sails well and is a joy to live on at sea with friends aboard. We're not sure we could have asked for a better way to start the new year. We send everyone best wishes from Chloe, Spirit and I, and as you can tell, we're all pretty stoked to be back on the water again. Sunset stroll with the trip star. Yeah, pretty nice. Massive breakwall. This breakwall's huge. Yeah, really high on the outside. They must get some massive swells coming in from the South Pacific. Yeah, beautiful. A lot of people come and hang out on the beach on the weekends, play loud music and drink beer. It's pretty cool. And this is where they store the boats. And they've just built a new hard stand at the marina. I believe they've got a hydraulic trailer coming from Italy, so we'll see what it looks like. We might haul out here, we're not sure. But yeah, there's the old hard stand, which is a bit dodge, to say the least. The trailer's pretty, let's just say it's past its use by date. I think all those boats are pretty lucky to be sitting there. No, it's not that bad, but yeah, it's not that great either.